Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us again for another episode of Taking Back Birth with myself, Kristen Nagle. And today I am joined with a friend. We've been in communication quite a lot over social media, so it is very nice to be able to connect through at least not in person, but at least we get to interact together with. So today is with Linda Suliman. So thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Last week, I missed an episode. I apologize, everyone. I had a house of just my started with my oldest boy was sick, and then my youngest one, and I just didn't get around to it. That whole mom life is real. So missed last week, but we're back and running, and hopefully we have some amazing guests lined up moving forward. But today, I would like to talk about Linda's journey and through birth and her experience and, what brought her here. And I think we're going to have some great talks about, the importance of bringing women together. But I'll start off with, what led you, to us having this conversation. You reached out a while ago. I think you had an unfortunate traumatic experience, which kind of like geared your path to finding something out of the system. And we were kind of talking about it briefly before we started.
Yeah. So many things led me to this, and, reaching out to you. And I think my birth story of connecting with the medical industry and then leaving it almost was a replica of what you did, like you were a nurse, you were very much connected and you left it. And I'm sure there's lots of similarities in that regard to why I left when I had my first miscarriage. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, there's definitely a lot of similarities. And I think it's interesting now that the Association of Ontario Midwives have put out a witch hunt for traditional birth companions. So if they see anyone using a TBA or TBC, they are to be, reported or informed, or full-on witch hunt is going on. And it's fascinating because like you said, we were both, entered into the system, and then it pushed us to seek other options. So to me, it's just, maybe you should be looking at the services you're offering and the treatment that you are, having towards women, and maybe do better. Why are women not seeking your care? Why are women looking for alternatives, something different? Why are women going out of the system? So instead of creating this whole witch hunt, maybe you should start offering a better service.
Exactly. And I think that's exactly it. It's crazy that instead of asking why and turning inwards to what is going on, why are these people leaving and why do they need more support? Instead of that, they're stripping away even more support and leaving the mom, the pregnant mother, on her own, which is the issue to begin with. We need that support. We need that support. So it's not productive at all. It just makes things 10 times worse.
Absolutely. Open the woman up to more for more trauma, more vulnerable, and just that feeling of helplessness that stays with the woman moving forward. Right. And then years of feeling, isolated or left alone and abandoned, and that stays within to our core. So you had a very unfortunate, sad story, and I've had 2 miscarriages myself, and one as late as not as late, but 13 weeks. And so I understand you started saying you had a loss at 4 months.
Yeah. So sorry for your loss. It's never easy, no matter what. How many weeks in or whatever it is, right? So sorry for your loss. But I had a loss at 4 months. I had a miscarriage. That was my first pregnancy. Do you want me to get into the details of?
Yeah, if you're comfortable, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So it was going great. I was pregnant. I didn't know how far along I was. I was actually further along than I thought. And I always knew, I've always been a little bit more holistic and in the realm of alternative medicine, all of that. And so I always knew that I wanted to do an at-home birth. At the time, I didn't know that there was any other options other than a hospital birth, and a hospital birth with a midwife, or a midwife supported birth at home, which we know sometimes happens and sometimes does not.
Mhm.
So I was going down the midwife route, and when I was pregnant, I think I forgot how many weeks in. It's all such a blur right now,
Yeah.
but I had a little bit of bleeding, and um, I got panicked. This was my first pregnancy, and no matter how much I knew about health, no matter how much I knew about anything, I just was panicky. Like I didn't know what the blood was about, what was going on. And now, like foresight afterwards, I see that there's actually many women that have bleeding throughout their whole pregnancy, and they come to full term and the babies are beautiful. But anyway, so there was bleeding. I went to the hospital. I had an ultrasound. That was like my first ultrasound because I didn't want to do ultrasounds. And one thing led to the other. I had ultrasound. They said that there was a hemorrhage and that I need to be bedridden and I shouldn't be moving around too much. And so, I took that advice. The bleeding kind of stopped and things were okay because, as you know, the hemorrhage could kind of absorb, or just it can just heal itself and everything could be fine. And then after that, they found a cyst when I was pregnant. And again, and now I know so much more now, especially with my journey.
It's okay. You do the best you can with what you know, and when you know more, then you continue to do better, right? But
Exactly. And so I had a cyst, and I was getting frightened again, being like, is this going to interrupt my pregnancy? All of these things are just kind of rolling around. And at the time, they said they found it through the ultrasound and they wanted to do a vaginal ultrasound. And they just kept on doing vaginal ultrasounds on me for, I don't know what reason. And I remember when I went in, they didn't even prep me for it. They just said, okay, now it's time for the ultrasound, the vaginal ultrasound. I was just like, okay, what, like, why are we doing it? And in my mind, I knew, like, just deep down inside, I just knew that this is not something that needs to happen.
Yeah.
I think that this is gonna not be good for the baby. And so things led to other things, and probably it was literally right after that, or a week after that, that I had the miscarriage. I'm not just kind of putting the blame on vaginal ultrasound, but I just don't think that vaginal ultrasounds are needed, especially when you are in complication of a miscarriage. Nothing will change the outcome of it.
No, and even it's like, well, what were they searching for? I mean, a cyst. Okay, was there going to be any treatment? Was there going to be anything done? Like, were they just wanting to, watch and monitor? But then, but why? Why interfere with the process of, pregnancy, with the growing baby, with, the sacredness of it? Like, why disrupt that just to observe, just,
Exactly.
just for their own paperwork and charting? And
Exactly.
why a vaginal ultrasound?
Exactly.
When there already was bleeding and there already was like, yes.
And that's spot on. It's the concept of interfering even more when there may be, and I say there may be complications, but really the body knows, like it knows exactly what it's doing. Just leave it alone and it will sort its way out. And so maybe there was no complication at all and it just was figuring itself out and things would have been fine. Again, I don't know what the outcomes would have been if I took a different route, but in my heart, in my deepest soul, I know that things just weren't right. And even within that process, when I lost the baby, there was a moment there where they did an ultrasound afterwards and said, oh, the baby's out, like everything is out and everything's good. And in my mind, I'm like, but how? Like I didn't let go of anything at home. How is it? So they also did a mistake in regards to telling me the report of their ultrasound. So I don't know whose report they were telling me. Like it was just so odd. I was just like, so whose report? You're saying that I lost the baby and there's no remains within me, but how? And then a week later, they found the remains and they said, oh, that was the wrong ultrasound.
Oh my gosh.
It was nuts. And the mind is very, very, very powerful, as you know.
Yes.
And so I wonder some days where I'm like, because they told me that, they were obviously reading a different report, because I still had, you know, the baby within
Yes.
me. And so did my mind say, oh, I've lost the baby and everything is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And release, and then.
yeah, there's just so many unknowns, and it's still it's, yeah, there's just so many unknowns. So there was a lot of things that have happened there with um my with me going down that route, and I just didn't like it. And so at that point, when they said that I lost the baby and then they did an ultrasound, they said, oh, there's still a lot in there. And I knew that there was, because I didn't let go of my 4 month. That was 4 months. Like, it was a
Yes.
long time. There
Yes.
should be things that are happening. I just had the miscarriage at home, because I was like, I do not want any support removing this. I am gonna do my own thing at home. And I let go of the baby at home, and it was the way I needed it to be. And I am so thankful that I actually had that miscarriage, because if I didn't, it was almost like it was almost like a gift from God. It was almost like a baby had to lose its life for me to. Sorry, I'm getting teary-eyed, but a baby had to lose its life for me to wake up and see that, oh, there's another option here. There's another option I can go. And if this didn't happen, would I have had, because I continued to have, to be pregnant again. And I wondered if, would I have had this experience of doing it outside of the system if this didn't happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually beautiful. It was actually a beautiful thing that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is really emotional, and I understand what you're saying, because I always say it's like the most polarizing emotions around a loss, because it rips you apart. It is incredibly devastating. It is heartbreaking. It's it was a part of you. It was your child. It was life, right? Right from conception, whatever they try to tell us, there's a spark of life right at the beginning. And it is so hard, no matter like how far along that baby's with you. But then so with my like losses, like we 13 weeks, same thing at home. And we had a little burial service and everything at in our yard, and yeah, heartbreaking. But then I had our Liam after, and it's like, okay, well, without that loss, I would never have Liam in our life, which obviously he's a huge joy, and we love him, and it's amazing. But it's weird to have those emotions together of that devastation, but then joy, because they all came from the same place.
It's so true.
And it's a very bizarre for our mind to kind of really articulate and understand how you can have the two together.
That's spot on. It's yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. And I just have always noticed that. And even Adley, our baby now, there was a loss in between as well. And same thing. It's just weird to have that sadness with the joy together. Like, they're not supposed to mix. But with both of my losses, same thing. There was a lesson. And I feel the one, especially at 13 weeks, I feel like, I felt it was a girl, and I do feel, she spoke to me and, gave me that piece of just, it wasn't the time yet. It wasn't right for me to be here yet, and everything's going to be okay, and I'm okay. And, there'll be
how beautiful
another option. So it kind of gave me some peace, because then it started kind of my journey to step back from work, because I didn't think I could drop down to like part-time and start doing other options. And I was like, enough is enough. Like, this whole world is like literally killing me and, life. And it's time to like be redirected. And I feel like sometimes they come for not little, like major lessons like that. And, like totally re-guided your life as well.
It's so beautiful. It's so crazy that, like, a miscarriage can come in, and a loss of life can come in and give you such a powerful lesson that that you and I are both holding so strongly.
Mm-hmm.
Too. And no, that's beautiful.
I think it helps to give that, peace of mind, and and just start to kind of put a little bit of like healing around the heartbreak. It's hard. So my heart goes out to anyone listening, experiencing losses, multiple losses. Nothing about that is easy at any stage. And, they're with us forever. But so that loss led you became pregnant again. And you were seeking something different this time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I was just seeking, I was just like, I don't ever want to experience that again. And don't get me wrong, I don't know if what I said sounded like I'm putting it all on, like miscarriages can happen for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah.
And so
absolutely. And I think, sorry, I cut you off because I was like, there's something I wanted to make sure to reiterate in there. And I think the hardest part is trying to figure out why, right? Like we can drive ourselves crazy with trying to figure out why, what did I do, and the blame, and where can it go? And that can hold on to just the grief and the helplessness and trying to answer. Sometimes it just happens, and trying to find that peace. But with the ultrasound, I just it's become so normalized, ultrasounds. And I want to kind of harp on this a little bit before we move forward. Just there is no reason why we need to be always observing everything that is going on. And I feel like with my birth with Adley, it was kind of like the culmination of everything that I've been learning kind of came through in that labor and that birth, because I just realized I was like, every part of ourselves over generations, we have outsourced. Like we have literally handed over everything to including our bodies, our pregnant bodies, and our growing babies. Like we have lost all connection. So those early ultrasounds for dating, for the anatomy scans, none of it is relevant. It does not change the course of the pregnancy. And I think a lot of people wonder about, what about placenta previas? There's going to be signs, closer to your pregnancy. If that is your case, you will have time to get the help needed to get to the hospital. Also, midwives and OBs have lost their skills because you can listen for the placenta, which I was able to do on myself. I was practicing. Amazing. And you can hear the placenta. So you can actually find it and know where it's located without an ultrasound. And a lot of people think, what about if there's, something, wrong with the baby? There's been studies done that show that there is no change in the outcome of the care for the baby once the baby's born. I think, the baby care is either 4 hours or 13 hours after the baby is born, compared to immediately right away in hospital. But the outcomes are actually better. One, because mom's not stressed throughout the pregnancy and worrying and wondering and going through more tests and interventions and wondering what's going on.
Massive.
Not having that stress. Two, a lot of times ultrasounds are wrong and baby can be born, actually perfect, compared to what the ultrasound was saying. And three, usually, the pregnancy goes to term. So baby is healthier for having a term pregnancy and laboring on its own time versus induction, which usually happens. So the baby is actually stronger, more resilient, and then still gets the care that it needs if care is required, and the outcome is actually better. So there's ultrasounds are not really beneficial at all. So and it does cause a lot of harm. There's studies, there's reports, and I just kind of wanted to harp on that because we need to trust more our body.
And it's true because even if it was accurate, the next minute it won't be. Things can change so quickly. So you're really just getting a snapshot in time that's not that accurate.
And just creating fear, worry, and just everything, and taking you out of your body in the experience.
Say that. Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. So back to now you're pregnant again. But this time you're like, I'm not going down that route. I want something different.
Yeah. I just wanted something different. And my journey to getting there just kind of spontaneously happened. It's not to find the other route of, if you're not choosing a medicalized birth, the other options are not that prevalent out there. You don't know. And I think now more people are, and you're doing a fantastic job with having these conversations and really bringing it out there, but it's really hard to find. Even Yeah. And so I wanted a different approach to it. And so I was just like, well, can't I just have my baby with no support? Like just have it at home. And that's when I landed on Yolanda Norris Clark, her Instagram account. And she runs a whole program on this, and she speaks loudly about free birth and everything that it involves and all of that. And so she had a course. It was, I believe it's called the Free Birth Free Birthing
Birth
course.
Society.
Yeah. And so I took the free birth course that she offered, and it basically equips you to at least have the confidence and understanding of, what it involves of you having your baby at home without the connection to the hospitals or midwives or doctors. And anyway, so I did the course. It was lovely. There was a lot of information there. At the end of it, I still felt like I needed just a support, maybe like a wise woman, somebody who has been involved with home births, but that's not connected to the system. And she has a members portal, and from there I connected. A lot of the people there are from the States, and there was probably like 2 people from Canada, and I connected with this this beautiful woman, Adele, and she connected me. She just was starting out with her free birth. What was she doing? Sorry, I don't know what her actual title was, but I got speaking to her, and she let me know that there is such thing as women who were supporting births outside the system. And one thing led to the other. She connected me to Billy Harrington, which we all know is, and from there I reached out to Billy and asked her if she can support me on my birth, even though I had a little bit more knowledge on free birthing and all of that. And at the end of the day, you are still kind of free birthing, but with this amazing woman who's by your side, who is there to support if at any point that fear gets into you. So so for my second birth, that's what I did. And it was beautiful. I didn't do any ultrasounds, no testings, no nothing. I just really connected in, because every single woman out there has the ability to do this if they have the strength, and if the fear is not within them, that you're able to do this. And I just did what any woman is able to do. And I got the support really as well. And it was a beautiful at-home birth.
Yeah. And it's so liberating to not, people wonder if you're more fearful, like not having the test or the interventions, but it's amazing. It actually does the opposite.
Exactly.
Like it's because having 2 very, medical, pregnancies and births with my boys. And then this one, I think they call it, a wild pregnancy. It's so wild to not know. Like, I think it's actually supposed to be like a positive term, like a wild pregnancy. Yes. Of just like guessing, right. But it still is a funny term to me. Like, oh, wild, like, because
you're domesticated. You're not wild.
I know. It's just like, this is just like, how it's supposed to be. But it is funny, even though I think that's, a positive term they put on your wild pregnancy, but it's still funny to me to hear that. But it's just like, no, it just was, your pregnancy, you're growing a baby. It's that, sacred ability that us women are able to partake in. And it actually was so freeing. It removed all fear. It removed all worry. I feel, compared to my boys, where it was like, you go in for your ultrasounds, you go in for your blood work, you go in, your appointments, they go from monthly to bi-weekly to every week or whatever. The measurements, the listening, all of it. I found that was so much more stressful and so much more like concerning and worrying, and because you're wondering, oh, I hope everything's okay. I hope this is, and what is this going to mean? I got to wait for this test to come back. And, versus just growing a baby, doing what our bodies can do. And it was so beautiful.
And the thing is with that is that I speak to a lot of women, and the thing is that I guess there's two ways to look at that, right? For somebody else, it's really comforting for them to know, to have the ultrasounds, to do the testings. But I still question that, only because when you know certain things, like there is a side effect to certain
Hmm.
things that you're being told
Hmm.
that could not be accurate, as we know. So then is it really that much more comforting than for you to have your own um birth at home without the testings and everything? Like I don't know. Like for me it was really comforting for me to not see anyone through my
No.
pregnancy and
Yes.
not do any tests. I didn't care. I didn't need. And it's funny because when you're going through this, and if you're the first person to do this in your little like community, you get questioned, right? So
Yes.
like,
Yes.
like from my mom, my brothers, my sisters, friends, they're just like, well, aren't you worried about this? And oh, so are you gonna go see somebody this week? Are you gonna go see Billy? Is she gonna tell you? And I'll be like, no, I may go see and visit Billy, but she's not telling me anything about my birth. I know about my birth. I don't need anybody to be telling me about what's happening within me. The baby is me. Like, you
Yes.
know what's happening. So why do I need that ultrasound, or why do I need that blood test that's a snapshot in time, just so I can have that fear and worry about one more thing? Like, it makes no sense.
No, and I think that's the thing, is just trusting the process of knowing, like, okay, well, what is the ultrasound going to tell me? What is this test going to tell me? Is it going to change the outcome? Because I realized that here, Adley's coming to say hi.
Oh, breastfeeding time.
Yes, exactly. You're
So
getting chubby. You say
adorable.
hi. Yeah. You say hi. You're 2 months old now.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. We're kind
Adorable.
of talking about you always.
Look
Um,
at her.
I think I think you have to just trust your body and trust the process. Now, are you going to, abort the baby? If the answer is no, there is no reason for ultrasound, because you're gonna love, you're gonna make decisions, you're gonna deal with, whatever outcomes happen. And there, let's see. I'm just distracted right now to get you settled in. And that's what I found. I had to come to terms with, okay, I just have to trust exactly the process, how it's going to be. And if there's a concern, if there's a problem, then you solve it when you get to that point. You just if anything were to come up, you solve that as it comes up. But there's no sense in worrying or wondering. Or I thought I would be more concerned about not going through everything, but I couldn't believe how actually freeing and less stressful it was, and just letting my body grow. And you can see, okay, well, I'm getting bigger, like every week, every month. You can feel the movements. Okay, there's movement. Okay, things are good. And I feel good. Okay, what's going on? All right. And you just continue to let it be. And it
And
was
I think
beautiful.
even if you did have, like, I'm sure you and I both, I'll speak for myself. I'm sure there was still like a little bit of a fear, or
Always.
and I
Yeah.
don't know if fear is the right word. Maybe it's just being cautious,
Curious.
curious. Yeah, curiosity. I think that is the perfect word to use. And I think, like, I'm not gonna pretend like there wasn't any of that throughout this process, but I think it was healthy. It was a healthy dose of it. And
Yes.
that's like our instincts coming up to be like, okay, we are we need to nest, we need to protect, we're not just, how we were when we weren't pregnant. So like I think that's still a healthy dose to have that. But to
Absolutely. And thanks for clarifying that, because for sure, like as soon as you become, a pregnant, enter motherhood, there's always that level of concern, worry, wonder, curiosity. Like you're always going to wonder and have that, not fear, like you said. I don't think that's the appropriate word,
yeah,
but you're always going to wonder about your kids, and you want the best for them, and you want them to
sure.
be healthy and well. But it is that healthy dose, and it is connecting with yourself. Okay, where is this coming from? Is there, an actual concern? Is there a worry? Is there something that needs to be looked into? Or is this just, the curiosity of the unknown? And then you have to lean into the unknown and trust, okay, we'll find out. We'll find the answers out soon enough.
And to add to all of this, and I kind of briefly mentioned it, I think it's okay. I don't know how to say this. I obviously there's that other side of women who feel more comfortable doing it the other way, and I don't think it's a debate whether to do it this way or that way. I think it's more just to bring awareness that there is another option for the women who don't feel comfortable doing it that way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's why I've become so passionate about this, is just sharing the other side, because we've normalized, the hospital, the interventions, all of it. And the home just seems like, oh, I could never do that. But it's because we don't know enough about it. It's been removed from our society, from our culture, and it seems scary and abnormal. And I think that's why it's just bringing it back to normalize it, to remove that fear, to show how beautiful it can be, to show how safe it is, to show, this is, how it's meant to be. Because I just fully accepted. I didn't think anything of like the hospital. Obviously, that's all I knew, and it was fine. But when I did find out about another option, and what it could look like and feel like and everything, I was like, oh, feel a little robbed of an experience. I wish I knew more.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with my births. I'm not traumatized from them. They were fine. I say they were uneventful. But I just I wish that I knew more. So that's what I'm so passionate about these conversations, is just to bring that awareness, to show the other side, and just start normalizing. It's so bizarre to me that we have to normalize birth again. That we have to normalize pregnancy.
I agree. Women have been doing it forever. So
yeah, that we have to have these conversations to bring awareness to it. That I, didn't know anything about it, working with pregnant mothers and babies, and and I think there's a big difference too that don't realize. There's a huge difference from a natural vaginal birth versus a physiological birth. And not enough people, say majority of people, myself included, was in this category, don't know what a physiological birth is. And I think we think that means natural, like, oh, like, did you have a natural birth? Vaginal versus, C-section. But there's so much more to that, right? Like, to actually experience a physiological birth and what the body does instinctively and intuitively, and the hormones and what it was designed to do. We were just talking the other day about babies. As soon as like the head comes out, then you have the practitioners, whether it's OB or midwives, they're right in there to twist and turn and pull the baby out like immediately. As soon as a little bit of the shoulders are out, they're in there with the shoulders twisting, turning. And when you learn about physiological birth, you realize the baby plays a very, very important role in their descent and their birth as well. They twist themselves. They know exactly what to do as they're descending. And they I wish I had like a pelvis and to show, but we'll leave that on. Hopefully I have a pelvic floor therapist coming on soon. We'll leave that up to her. But the babies start to descend, and then they're like, okay, I can't fit down this way. So then they turn again, and it's like, okay, now that I'm through this part, okay, got to twist again.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, the babies play a huge role in their own coming Earthside. So and we're taking that away from the baby's journey as well.
Exactly. And so then is there not an effect? Is there not something that would happen if somebody's going in there and intervening with that process? Then does that reflect in the baby's life that they needed that support, that they didn't trust already? They're not trusting themselves. Do you get what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely. That's interesting.
There must be a real, something's happening with my, sorry, give me a second. There must be a real side effect to supporting a baby to that extent right from the get-go, that in their behavioral actions growing older, does that have an effect? you know? Like
Yeah.
I forgot what book I read, but when you have C-sections, the baby needs that support to come out. And supposedly in this book, and they've done studies where they watch these kids grow, and these kids were a little bit more needing mom's help versus being independent, from the study of the kids being vaginal birth versus the C-section. And so like, do these things have an effect on a baby? It's hard for me to think that there isn't an effect.
Yeah, and absolutely. And who are we to know, or, like what the effect is, or, our involvement, or, what, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that we have, begun to think that we know more, like man knows more about this process than allowing, the, creator's like perfectly divine design take place. We were discussing this in our traditional birth companion course. Like, I find it also interesting how much of how many men, like doctors, have come in and infiltrated birth and have designed programs and books and names like Lamaze and the checking, the dilation, the centimeters, the all of it. All of it has been designed by men, and I think it's interesting that as women, through generations, we like followed the man into the system. Like they know better. Oh, they did this research. They came up with this. They found a breathing technique. They whatever. And I find it interesting that we allowed them to take over our body's natural process, like over, many generations. But I was like, it's all been created by men. Why did we trust like men to come up with something that they know nothing about? It's very bizarre when you really break it down and you think about all of like her story over the hundreds of years of, where we're at today.
It is very bizarre. And I think all of these things just take us out of our wildness, if we want to use that word again, but it just takes us out of what we know instinctively as women to be able to do naturally without the artificial or the support or the interventions.
Absolutely. There was one in thinking about, women and interventions, the wise woman. So I was curious about, we've had lots of different discussions about this, and I absolutely adore Yolanda, sorry. Combining her name. I'm like looking at Adley. So she was such a pivotal, important voice for me, especially throughout 2020. Fellow Canadian, she was just so articulate and outspoken about everything going on. And I learned so much from her and continue to do so. She just, is a very strong, unique voice. And, but we've had discussions about, the radical birth keeper and the radical side of everything and what that means. And we realized one of the conversations that came up was, that's what society has been doing to us over the years, telling us like, the feminist movement. Sorry, I'm just coming over a cold.
No worries.
I was like going down the German new medicine side of it. I was like, oh, what conflict has been resolved right now? Like I was like discussing about that like earlier.
Can't help but do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny. Okay. So side note, just because German new medicine is interesting and I'm a little bit nasally, it's the stink conflict, right? Like the colds, the stink conflict. And when it was like, what, did I not want to accept? And my children do not puke or have GI issues ever. And we just had a week of it. If they ever do, it's like one time they, sleep it off. And, this happened once. It was like one time they slept it off, all good. But I had a week of it that with my little guy that I'm not used to. And he refused to use like a bucket or get to the toilet. And I would chase him around with the bucket, and it scared him because I think it made him think of like what was about to happen. And I think he could control it. Like, and I was like, you can't control that, what's going to happen. Right. So he would push the bucket away, and it was a mess all week. And to the point, like, I just like broke down towards the end of it. Like I was crying, like as mothers, because it's like, I just don't want to clean up anymore. Like, why won't you just use the bucket? And then, anyways, and then, finally he's better, he's well. And then I got this cold. So the runny nose, the stuffiness, this a little bit of a sore throat. And that
Makes
has
you
to
want
do
to
with like,
connect that.
yeah, like, because it like the stink conflict, I didn't
Right.
want to, smell or swallow or, deal with what was going on. And I was like, yeah,
Right.
like I didn't. And anyways, side note of German new medicine stuff of the symptoms being,
No, and that's exactly
scary.
it, right? Using it in your real life. Like you're like, to really understand German new medicine. It's one thing to like absorb the knowledge, but it's another thing to really see how it's being played out in your day-to-day life. So yeah.
Yeah, and what conflict is being resolved, because when the symptoms are there, the healing is taking place.
Right.
Anyways, so side note in German new medicine, but so back to the radical birth keepers and everything, and comparing and just showing the different options. And I think it's amazing that there's so many options out there. And one of the things we were talking about was, over the years, society has told women that you can have it all. You can do it all. You can have as much as men, right? Go out into the workforce, do this. You can still be a family, you can still be at home, a mother. You can still do all these things. And I would say over the years, we've become as women really isolated. We have lost that, connection to other women. We have lost, ourselves in trying to do it all. And do it all ourselves, because we're supposed to be strong. Oh, we can do everything. And I feel with I'm just curious about discussion debate with the radical side of it. It's kind of with birth the same thing, but on a different level, because now you're being told that you can do it alone. You can do it all by yourself. And it's like, we can, but why would we want to?
Right. Yeah, it's another level of things. And I think the same concept holds true for, and I think it's just different. Is the word dilution? It's like how much concentration do you, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think the same thing holds true. So for somebody, a hospital birth is comfortable for them. That's their thing. For somebody else, birth attendant that's there to support is for them. For somebody else, the free birth, no support, do it on my own is for them. I think,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean?
There's something for everyone. I just thought it was like sparking like good conversations about where to go. And I don't think anything is like right or wrong. I think the more we start talking about this and getting out there and showing, there's other options, it just shows there's more choice. And that's what's been taken away from us from, with the technocratic system, is that they've taken away choice. And so I just think I like the conversations, the discussions, the debates, but absolutely there is something for everyone. And now we have the choice and the ability to do what is best for us moving forward now.
And I do agree with you. I do agree that these certain movements have taken and stripped away and look down on you needing support. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like you need a community around you. You need, some people need that. Some people need that community and support, and there is nothing wrong. It doesn't make you a better person just because you don't want the support around you. I think it's totally fine to, be able to have that traditional birth companion beside you, helping you through your birth. It's needed. It's a beautiful thing when you do have it. And
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. One of the other things that we were curious about as well. It just showed also the kind of almost like desperation in the crumbling of the system, if that's the word to say. So because now we're realizing there is choice, there are options, there's things we can do. We're taking back our power. It's this beautiful thing happening now. I think you started off your story as well. It's like you did not want to take part in the technocratic system, didn't know of any other options. You're like, so I'm going to do it by myself. And I think that also shows that like was such a strong movement in free birth, and it's still happening. And like you said, like it's amazing. I know women feel so confident. Marilyn Moran is a huge advocate for this. So she has a very interesting concept and teachings on birth, and she truly believes it should be, you know, alone and very intimate, and you know,
Wow,
just like animals, how they find a dark, quiet space and they're alone. So Marilyn Moran is another one that's very interesting to listen to. But it shows that there's something very wrong with the system, that, you know, women are choosing to that's at the time the only option, right? Because that might work for some people, and that's what they want. That's how they feel empowered. Like that's, again, like Marilyn Moran's teaching as well. But others, maybe they would wanted support, but they were so scared of the support that they were going to get that they felt safer to be alone. And to me, that's very significant in the times that we're living in, that women that would choose support and want support decided to be alone because that felt safer than entering into unknown support that, you know, might end up traumatizing them or ending up in interventions that they did not want. So I think that is very fascinating of how far we have gone, and
it's
that
so
you know, the system is just crumbling that much. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. It's so true. Like you're spot on. There is a huge gap for us to want to switch around and go from this option to like, okay, fine, I'm just gonna do it on my own. There is something wrong there. Then there has to be. There's definitely something wrong there if that's what we are doing. And it's crazy because when I was trying to investigate if there's another option, it took me about I would say 9 months to actually even just find the word traditional birth companion.
Yeah.
For me to even understand that there's a title for these women, I had to, and I was Google searching like crazy. So it took me 9 months to finally get that word. It's nuts. Like, why? Like I thought when you Google, you can find almost everything, right? But we know now that like your searches are even controlled to that level. And so it should make us question, why is it that we don't know these other options? Why are these other options so hidden? Like
it is. It's so over the last 3 years, and those that know me know I've been very vocal and very public about everything going on, and you know, posting on social media. I've not held anything back about, you know, what's everything, right?
We're so grateful for it. We're so grateful for it.
But I find, thank you, but I found it very fascinating that over the last year, I've definitely kind of shifting content and things I talk about and what I'm, you know, trying to bring awareness to, that I finally got a message from Instagram saying that my account is close to being deleted. And over the first like 2 years, from 21 to 2022, I never received any of those messages. But it's come from me posting natural birth videos. And that's why my account is close to being deleted for posting about birth. Apparently, it's I've gotten wrong and harmful information, and for nudity. Yeah. So this is almost like the line. So all the other things I was posting over, you know, from 2020 to 2022, you know, I've got the fact checkers and all of that, and shadow banned and censored, but my account is close to being deleted because of promoting natural birth. So I'm like, there's something there.
That's amazing. That's pretty, it's pretty clear then, you know, like it's pretty, that's very fascinating. That's very fascinating that again, this is the approach like they're so determined to hide this information. I think the same thing, kind of off note, but German New Medicine, the same thing is happening with German New Medicine, and Dr. Hammer and all of the things that he was experiencing against him for them to hide that information. So it's almost like now when I get myself into anything, I'm always like, okay, what is the hidden information? That's the information that I want to know about. And it's almost like it opens so many more doors for you when you are following the things that are being censored and that are being hidden.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's nuts to hear that from you, because you've posted crazy amounts of stuff. So it's crazy that now. Yeah, that's very fascinating. And it should say a lot without saying nothing at all.
Yeah, I thought so. I was like, okay, like this is what's going to get my account deleted over the last 3 years. And it was, I posted video clips of The Business of Being Born, which is 2008 by Ricky Lake. It's actually excellent. If anybody is curious about birth or hospital birth, what actually takes place, please watch The Business of Being Born. Excellent documentary. Interesting enough, by Ricky Lake. She's a huge advocate for home birth. But so there's a clip of how women were treated back in the, I don't know if it was like the 50s, something like that. In the tests or the interventions they would have done when they were pregnant. And so I posted this short clip, and so that's one of the things that I was being flagged for. And then I did post a couple, natural births, babies being born, physiologically. And then that was the wrong and harmful information and nudity. Oh, the other one, I think they tried to cross out her chest, or her breasts were showing, and that was it. But then I think about all these other crazy accounts out there, with nudity or whatever, or things that people are doing. Like, it's like, really,
let's be honest.
But this is natural.
That, yeah. And we know that Instagram holds a lot of things. Yeah. A lot of things on sex trafficking, all of this stuff.
All of it. Exactly.
So you're gonna stop and not allow birth videos. That's a beautiful thing. It's life. It's innocent. But then you're not going to stop the other stuff.
I know.
It doesn't make any sense.
Because we're taking back, we're our power. Ahead. No, we're taking, because it's Nitty Smith, Doula Goddess, has, I think, said it the best. Like, when you control the womb, you control the woman, and you control the family unit. And it all is like, it is, you intervene right at birth, you're in the system. Right? Because then right away you're like, okay, entering into the well baby visits, then you have a doctor, you have all these appointments, you have all these people to be accountable to, and you're stuck, you're in there, you're locked in. But once you remove yourself from the system, you're at home, you reclaim that power, you see how divinely amazing our bodies are in the process. You're more trusting to not bring your baby to anyone but yourself unless needed. You take all that back. And then, can you imagine, then we're bringing up these children into this world of like trusting themselves, trusting, their body, their process, and more natural, holistic alternatives and a way of life. Like, then they don't have their grasps on us anymore.
I agree. I think that's spot on. I think it just all comes back down to that. It's like the root. Where can we influence the root of everything? And that is it. It is birth. It's birth. Like, there's no other way.
That's life.
It's life. It's life. And to really play out your agendas, let's just say, or whatever, that's where you need to hit it. And that's what they have been doing. And so like, yeah. And I think it goes back to the conversation of me saying, well, there's this option, it's whatever somebody feels the most comfortable with. But when that one option, there's all these other agendas attached to it. And so it's really important for people to know that one option that you feel comfortable with, I don't know if they know that there's all these other things attached to it. And so, like, we really have to assess and it's very genius how everything is being played out.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
why we're getting better and smarter as well, and creating more options, and more people are talking about this, and more opportunities to get out of the system and reclaim what has been taken from us. And I'm very excited actually that all this happened, so we can be on this path and just
Great.
moving away from it all. I think it's incredible. As we wrap up, I want people to be able to find you, follow you, because you have your own holistic business.
Yeah.
Maybe you could share and let people know what it is and where they can find you if they would like to connect.
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram. Reach out to me. I'm very approachable. Send me a DM. That's basically the number one way to reach out to me. I'm a health and wellness coach. I have a coaching program that I'm putting out into the world very soon. Until then, I just have one-on-one consultations where my background is in Ayurveda, German New Medicine, body emotion code release, all of the things. But yeah. So reach out to me at any point. Yeah.
And they can find you, and I think it's at Breathe Baba.
Breathe Baba. Yeah.
Okay. That's amazing. Well, I'm so glad that we were finally able to connect, and thank you so much for, taking the time to sit down with me. And I'm just really excited to see what everything that's going to transpire. Oh, that's what I wanted to make sure. So those that might have listening from the start, I was talking about a birth conference that was going to happen in London, Ontario, June 10th, I think I was saying. That has been postponed. We had to change the date due to an event conflict at the venue, but we're back on track. So save the date. Beautiful birth conference happening in London, Ontario, September 23rd. We're having a keynote speaker. Billy Harrigan is the keynote speaker, which I'm so excited about. Nitty Smith, doula goddess. We have Corinne Brown coming in from Nova Scotia. Sheila Stubbs, who wrote the book, an author, Birthing the Easy Way. And I think I'm going to try to get Nikita of When Push Comes to Shove. She's out in the UK to try and get her in on a teleprompter. I got to figure out how to do that. But she's going to speak. Names. Yeah, so it's going to be an incredible day. Food, there's going to be a lunch, and more details will be coming soon. But please save the date for September 23rd. I'm really excited for bringing all these voices together.
Amazing. You're doing such beautiful, beautiful things. We're so grateful to have you, and that you're bringing awareness on all these different aspects, especially on birth. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you so much. All right.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. You're probably watching this in the evening, so enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you back next week. All right. Bye.